Hello and welcome back to Asia Now. My name is Alex, and in this video I'll tell you about a Filipino mail-order bride stopped by airport authorities, another suspected Chinese spy caught in the Philippines, Donald Trump inaugurated and immediately signs executive orders and says only two genders, male and female, two Canadians arrested for possession, plus more, beginning with the fan favorite USD to peso exchange rate. Right now, $1 equal to about 58.53. Let's jump straight into our main story. Philippines authorities stopped a 22-year-old female before she could board a Philippines airline flight to Shanghai, China. The woman initially claimed to be visiting a Chinese husband. However, officers grew suspicious of her story, citing inconsistencies between her statements and the documents she presented. She claimed to have recently married her alleged husband after a 3-year relationship, but had conflicting answers on the details of the marriage. The woman eventually admitted that they had met on an online dating app last November 21st, and then met in person the following day. Then they got married 2 days after in exchange of 50,000 pesos monetary allowance for her family. The woman recalled that her Chinese husband asked her if she received commissions for every referred Filipina, to which she said no. Very interesting. They said that these kinds of scams happen quite often. I don't know if scam was schemes. She obviously knew what she was doing, accepting 50,000 pesos and marrying somebody she doesn't know. But they say that these kinds of things can be troublesome because if the woman goes abroad, then the husband will force them to work because they're technically married without paying her. Next up, Philippines arrested a suspected Chinese spy, Deng Yuanqing, and two Filipino accomplices in Makati City. They were reportedly involved in espionage activities, scanning critical infrastructure such as military camps, airports, and fuel depots using advanced equipment capable of creating 3D maps. Authorities believe Deng, allegedly linked to China's People's Liberation Army, has been operating in the country for 5 years. The group's actions could pose a threat to national security, with the data potentially being used for military purposes. Charges under the espionage law have been filed against the suspects. The NBI is still investigating if these activities were officially sanctioned by the Chinese government. What is going on over there? I thought espionage would be the highest form of you can't be messing around with that stuff, especially when it comes to a nation's security for another country. So I'm curious to see if China is proven to be involved in any way, at least officially. So yeah, it seems some serious concerns coming towards these three men. I would be really worried if I was them. Let me know what you think of that, because I always knew I always had this inclination that there definitely going to be stuff like this happening behind closed walls or curtains, without us regular folks, commoners, knowing anything about it. But now I guess this is one of those people that got caught, supposedly. And then some news from the US. Donald Trump, who overcame impeachments, criminal indictments, and a pair of assassination attempts to win another term in the White House, was sworn in as the 47th president Monday, taking charge as Republicans assume unified control of Washington and set out to reshape the country's institutions. Quote, "The golden age of America begins right now," Trump declared. Trump acted swiftly after the ceremony, with executive orders already prepared for his signature to clamp down on border crossings, increase fossil fuel development, and end diversity and inclusion programs across the federal government. More specifically, in his inauguration speech in the U.S. Capitol, Trump said, quote, "As of today, we will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female," end quote. Okay, and here's a closer look at some of those executive orders and what they were specifically. Here's a list of the U.S. President Donald Trump's executive actions hour after his second term inauguration. So, delaying TikTok ban for 75 days, ordering federal workers back to the office full-time, withdrawing from World Health Organization, revoking sanctions against Israeli settlers in the West Bank, declaring a national emergency at the southern border, and revoking birthright citizenship, reinstating Cuba on the state sponsor of terrorism, repealing diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, and limiting gender recognition to male and female, withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord, pardoning 1,500 individuals involved in the January incidents. Let me know what you think of those pardons as well as executive orders. Anything you want to talk about, leave your comments down below. Let's go on to our next story, back to the Philippines. Next up, the PNP Civil Security Group on Monday said the mall security guard who was involved in that flower girl vendor in a viral video met with supervisory office on security and investigation agency on Monday. The spokesperson said the guard, whose identity was withheld, and officials from his agency were summoned last week. She earlier said aggravating circumstances would be considered in imposing a penalty against the security guard, while his security agency may face a fine or suspension of his license. Okay, so as more detail comes along with that story, I'll go ahead and share it with you guys. Next up, the Philippines will host a tourism forum of Association of Southeast Asia's Nations in 2026, taking over from Malaysia, which led this year's event in Johor. The Department of Tourism has also renewed its agreement with Thailand for strengthening of tourism partnerships aimed at increasing visitors' arrivals and enhancing economic ties. That's great to see Thailand and Philippines partnering, teaming up. I'm sure Thailand has a lot of suggestions, ideas, and vice versa maybe on how to attract more visitors to each country. And then 2 Canadian passport holders were arrested for selling substances, while 3 other foreigners were arrested for substance possession or use at an Electric Daisy Carnival in Phuket, also known as EDC. The Canadian Samuel Jackson and Jared Liam Wong, both 34, were found with a whole bunch of stuff I cannot read, but they were arrested yesterday after failing to stop at a checkpoint in Patong. The arrest followed 2 people that perished. The arrest followed the perishing of 2 people who passed away. A 32-year-old Vietnamese American and a 28-year-old Canadian passed during separate incidences on Saturday night, both at the hospital after the EDC, the festival, of course. And also 3 other people, Japanese, Myanmar, and Malaysian person, were arrested for possession. According to the new reports, 120,000 people attended the 3-day event. So this is a huge concert basically happening all over the world. They have different venues. It's not the only one. It's very similar to Tomorrowland or whatever else type of concert there's out there. Some things are meant for younger people. I think this is one of those things. At a certain age, I think you'll just get annoyed with the loudness of the music, the stickiness, and just the crowds. Perhaps, I think I'm getting to that stage where things are starting to annoy me a little bit. Even like night markets where I used to love going to, now I just want to get my food and go somewhere peace and quiet and eat it. So let me know if you've been to any of these types of concert. If you've been to the full moon party in Koh Phangan, or this kind of event. They also have the Songkran, the water festival. There's always these kinds of like exciting things happening, not just in Thailand, all across the world. So yeah, share your concert stories, whether this kind of stuff is for you or not. It does look pretty interesting though, I'm not gonna lie. The 3D giant thingy, I think back in the day, those things were actually made by hand, like a big ass statue. Nowadays, a lot of this stuff comes down to CGI. Leave your comments down below. Speaking of comments down below, it's time for a segment Yesterday Today, where I read some of the most popular comments regarding our previous video. 1951 Ford says, I have been to a few Sinulog festivals and at the end of the night there was piles of garbage everywhere. When I got up in the morning, there wasn't a scrape of garbage anywhere. You're right though, there's no garbage cans anywhere in Cebu City. Yes, this is regarding the fact that there was over 290 tons of garbage in a recent report that cleared up after the Sinulog Festival. Big shout out to those city workers because within just 13 hours, the place looks back to just like it was before. But it's always good to kind of keep that in mind, look for garbage bins. And of course, the organizers, perhaps they just don't have enough bins to, I'm not trying to make excuses because I don't know nothing about that stuff, but I just would imagine this might be easier somehow, just because we know like the exact route they're going down. So they're thinking probably just like, it's just simpler to clean up after. I don't know, but thank you for sharing your experience. Red Bart says, getting stuck in Changi Airport in Singapore would be amazing. One of the coolest places I've ever been to in my life. #1 airport in the world for quite a few years. Definitely, Changi always ranks in the top 1, 2, or maybe even 3 for the past 4, 5, 6 years that I've been kind of looking at these things. An excellent airport. I've been there myself. It's beautiful, massive. I love the waterfall. I actually responded by saying my favorite one is actually Doha in Qatar. But if you've been there, let me know which is your favorite international airport. I'd love to hear the ones you've been to, the ones that you like. JL Mark 01 or JL Marco 1 says Pogo workers should leave, but now getting blamed for falling condo prices is a joke. Alex, you're keeping us up to par and you have a bright future as a presenter. Well, thank you. I appreciate the support and the kind words. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Espionage will be the highest form of like fuckery.